Maguire, and Rebecca Mader. Hi everyone. It's so bright. And you guys didn't come out in order, so you have to answer all of Elizabeth's questions.
I'm Elizabeth.
You're beautiful.
Okay, so I want to start off by asking you, I mean, you're obviously playing characters that have already existed. So for each of you, did you study the source material? Did you come up with it all on your own? You have a bazillion different versions.
Yeah, well, the problem with, I mean, Robin Hood, the myth or the legend of Robin Hood sort of began around the 14th century. I did a fair bit of research on it, but at the end of the day, the show that we're making takes famous, iconic characters that we all play and really gives them a new spin. So it was sort of one of those things that I didn't really pay too much attention to previous incarnations of them, because the script that Adam and Eddie and our very talented writers make really define the way that this Wicked Witch or this Anna or Elsa or Robin Hood are. So the thing to do, I found, was I had to just forget that he was an icon or a legend and just try and make him a real human, you know, a leader and a father and somebody who loves his son and now has fallen in love with a wicked witch.
Oops. I did absolutely fine.
I mean, Wicked Queen, that's a Freudian slip. Right, nobody tweet that. Nobody tweet that.
Okay.
A lot of trouble.
I'm live tweeting this as I speak. I did absolutely zero preparation, as you can probably tell. I saw the film when I was little, and I was absolutely terrified of the Wicked Witch of the West, and she gave me nightmares for ages. I watched it way too young when I was like 5 or something. So I didn't watch it again. I literally don't think I've seen Oz since I was about 5. And then I saw the musical in 2009. And then when I got the part, I didn't want to go back and then watch all the other films, like, you know, the one with James Franco and everything, and start overly thinking it, because I thought if I do that, then I'm going to start playing somebody else. And I didn't want to do somebody else's Wicked Witch of the West, especially because Once Upon a Time are all about doing their own spin on things. And I thought, well, the only way I can bring my own British hot sauce to it is if I don't overly study it. So I was like, sod it, I'm just going to wing it and see what happens and go with the flow.
We were just trying to do the movie.
No.
we had to do Disney, but it did come out a year before we did it, and you know, that, yeah, it wasn't based on a whole bunch of different incarnations of Elsa and Anna. Elsa and Anna only exist in Frozen. I mean, they are based on characters. Well, Elsa's very loosely based on a Hans Christian Andersen story about the Snow Queen. But yeah, so Anna and Elsa only exist in Frozen, so that's what we had to go off, and that's what we did.
You're the real Anna and Elsa forever. For a whole generation, you're the real ones.
Thanks, Sean.
I feel like the one challenge was that though we were doing this animated character, we wanted them to be real people as well. And Frozen the movie has already done such a good job at making them as close to humans as possible, but I think that was just like the little extra challenge that we had. So we did the movie, but we brought it to life.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I think there was a lot of pressure on the creators of the show and the showrunners, because our first few days of filming, everyone came to set, everyone had notes, everyone was getting notes from Disney. You know, Disney had kind of given them their most recent, most successful babies, and we're like, please don't stuff them up. So they were all there, first day, second day, you know, and we were kind of getting a bunch of notes from lots of different people, because there was that fear that we would do it wrong, which, you know, is fair enough. So that was kind of a lot to deal with, you know. We kind of just tried to take it all on board, and at the end of the day, they were very supportive, and they weren't sure how much of the film to put in them versus how much human to put in them either. So we were kind of discovering it together. Yeah.
Did everyone bring their children to set?
Yeah. Oh, I just happened to have little Jimmy and Carly with me at work today. Little blighters. No one said blighters, it was Canada. But yeah, they all brought their children to work accidentally, and we accidentally hung out with them for a while and took lots of photos and stuff. It was gorgeous though, because they, you know, we were actually in costume at the time, and so we could pretend to be Anna and Elsa for real. And
We were pretending.
we weren't pretending, we were Sorry, sis.
What
Yeah, it's
did I ask
gorgeous.
you guys about joining an ensemble cast like this?
It was amazing. This was my first job ever out of acting school, and and I feel so lucky to have joined this ensemble cast because that's truly what they are. They're an ensemble, and it was like being a part of a family, and they guided me, and I learned so much from being with Georgina and working with everyone on the set. Yeah.
I showed you where craft service was and explained that it was free, but
Whoa, food! Yeah, so I feel so lucky. Like this, once upon a time, they have their stuff together, so it's so easy to walk onto set, and it's just all good people. The people are good, and that just made it that much better.
it's always surreal though when you meet, you know, people that you've admired for a long time and that you've watched in loads of things, and you do like I kind of fan out like anyone here, you know, I'm you know, you're a bit in awe, and it sometimes feels like you're in a movie because you're acting with someone and then they're like backstage like swearing or eating, or you know, it becomes real life, and you're like, this is so cool. I get to see both sides of not any present company excluded. Sean's never sworn in his life. No. But I just mean, like, you feel very privileged to kind of be getting to see all these different sides of people and be working with people you've admired for a while. Yeah, this ensemble is no exception, obviously.
Well, Rebecca, I'm curious if you think Zelina, I frankly wish. I'm curious if you think Zelina is a villain, because I know, you know, a lot of times when you're acting, you have to love your character in some way.
I think Zelina is a villain. I don't think Zelina thinks she's a villain. I think that's the best thing about the way that Adam and Eddie write villains on the show. The villains think they're the heroes of their own lives. And they know they've got the title of the villain, but in their own heart they're trying to find their own happy ending. So they don't feel villainous. And I think that's what makes the villains on the show, like Rumpel and the Evil Queen, so delicious, because they're on their own path of truth and destiny and faith and hope in their own way. So that's what makes the villains so multidimensional. So if you said to Zelina, she'd be like, well, I'm not a villain, dear, I'm wicked. But, you know, so I think she's a villain, and I think we all think she's a villain, but she doesn't. And I think that's where the truth is found in the characters and what makes them interesting to watch, because of how they're written as well.
Well, I'm also curious about Robin. And one of the things, this question actually comes from Jane Espenson, who I'm sure you guys know is producer and writer on the show. She was talking about heroes not needing to have a code. Robin has a code, so do you consider him a hero?
I don't think, I consider it, I mean, who didn't grow up knowing and hearing the legend of Robin Hood, somebody who robs from the rich and gives to the poor. And I think nowadays, with so much of the world getting so rich and the rest of us all struggling to kind of survive, I think Robin Hood is more apparent and more vital and useful today than ever. But I don't think Robin sees himself as a hero. I think in sort of the same way that Rebecca describes Zelina, I think Robin just sees himself as somebody who knows what he thinks the right thing to do is, and obviously, as we saw in the last season or two, he's far from perfect. Even though his wife came back from the dead and then got frozen, he still went and snogged Regina. So he's not perfect, not by a long stretch. But then, you know, who of us is? I think that what's great is the guys, and I took a lot of flack for that. A lot of people were saying, he's an adulterer. I'm like, come on, his wife came back from the dead and then got frozen. Anybody else been through that? No. Unless you have a wife come back from the dead and then got frozen by a snow queen, please sit down. So I defend him because I love the character, and it really is one of the great honours of my life to be able to wear the hood for just this brief period in my life. I mean, it's a bit like James Bond or Batman or Superman. There'll be many other people that play him, but just for this little brief period of time, I get to be him, and it's the coolest thing in the world. So I'm very grateful.
Well, you guys do a lot of work with green screen, and how difficult is that? Is that like playing on stage in theater, or is that...
It's tough, because she just disappears. All you can see is
if I shot on green screen, I would be eyes and teeth. That's all you would see. I actually said this on set to the director of photography. I'm like, I walked on set to like get some, I think just to eat some candy or something, and I'm like, oh, I never see the green screen. Why don't I ever shoot on this? And everyone just looked at me and they're like, seriously? Really? I'm like, oh, I disappeared. So all of my stuff is on blue screen, and blue screen is actually less offensive than green screen. The green screen really does your head in. It's so lime. It's like, like after an hour of it, you just want to rip your hair out.
It's like
and run
a
outside.
fluoro green. It's not like a pleasant sage green or asparagus.
And also the rooms that we shoot in are probably about the same size as this room, except the ceilings are higher, so you feel a little bit, without any scenery and without anything sort of tangible to touch. After you've been in there for about 12 hours, you come out and you're a bit like the children from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom that run out like that. You can't see anything. You just, your brain starts to go a bit funny. So that I think every now and then the actors are getting all silly and giddy. Send them out and get some oxygen in them. And then we come back into this big giant blue fishbowl.
Alright, so who do you think is the worst villain on the show?
Worst as in the most evil?
Yes.
I think you're very evil.
Not evil,
You
dear.
disguised yourself as my dead wife and then forced me to get you pregnant. That was really evil and deceptive. I don't know, I think Rumpel's, because Regina has got redemption now. We can see she's on a journey to try and be good.
Didn't
We can
Peter
see
Pan
that
have to
she...
do something really bad to become Peter Pan? He had to kill his own...
That was pretty harsh.
That's
pretty bad.
That's
full on.
But mostly, I think what's clever about the way they write villains is, in real life, as you said earlier, nobody really who's bad sees themselves as bad. They see it as justified, and all of these characters, all of the things that they do, it's for a reason. I mean, Zelina was abandoned by her parents, got nothing, was treated badly. She feels like, it's my time to get something.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's just a psychopath that wants to go around killing people for fun. But I think Rumpel's got, you can see there's good in him, but he's pretty bad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been the dark one for a while.
Consistently bad.
He's a bit of a naughty boy, isn't he? But I don't know, I'd say Rumpel's probably the one that's continually a bit of a rascal.
Well, you guys have some pretty crazy costumes, so I have to ask about the makeup and the costumes. You're in the same costume all the time. You probably have to touch people with that green makeup. How does that all work?
I tell you what, I've definitely switched to gloves. Because green fingers and stick-on green nails, not so much when you need a wee-wee. I go to lift up the big black thing, it's like, pachoo, 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 they just go flying everywhere. I'm like, oh no. So then I have to pick them all back up and stick them back on again. But my makeup, the green makeup takes about an hour and a half. There's 7 different shades of paint. And I have to have my own makeup trailer so that I don't gas everybody to death. I just get gassed to death. They don't care about my lungs. But it's fine, it's in my contract. But yeah, hour and a half, so it's pretty intense. But luckily the makeup artist on the show is lovely, and we just play the kind of music that we want, and we get Starbucks, and we have a giggle, and all of a sudden I'm ready and scary and ready to go. So it's not too bad.
And wearing the one costume, how many versions did you have?
There's about 4 versions, because the initial one wasn't actually fitted to me, because they cast me about like 6 days before they started shooting, and so they had to, obviously they wouldn't have had time to have made it from scratch when I got there. So they got my measurements and kind of did it without me there, the first one, which was unbelievable, like really, because I arrived the day before, put it on, and it fit pretty well. But then they wanted to kind of improve on it once they had the real me. So then they made another one, and then they had to have a couple of extra for stunts as well. And this is a costume that costs them thousands and thousands. It's all hand beaded, it's all the crystals, like it's insane. There's about 8 pieces to it, because there's the leotard, there's the cape, there's this, and there's something over there. You know, like it's a very detailed, amazing costume, which I tried to wear with dignity, but you're in the Vancouver forest a lot of the time. You're in mud a lot of the time. You have rain behind you. It's like being in a wedding dress, just doing normal stuff all the time. So I was getting caught on trees, I was ripping stuff, I was getting stuff filthy, and I just felt awful for the poor costume department. But you know, they're used to it. It's Canada. It's going to happen, and everyone, you know, has to wear these ball gowns
and they get heavier and heavier because it rains all day, and then the mud gets caked in, and then your train gets heavier and heavier. You feel like you're sinking into the ground.
It's insane. I developed this thing where it was like I was wearing an Indian shari. Is it a shari? But yeah, I'd swing it, I'd swing one cape over that side, kind of have it wrapped around another cape there, so I didn't, you know, get anything on the floor, and I had hooks, and so I just felt so terrible that I was wearing it. But it was a pleasure to wear it, nonetheless.
Well, I know you guys have questions, so I'm just going to ask one more. What Disney character who has not been on the show would you guys like to see?
Can I reframe that question?
Yes.
Just because it's like with Once Upon a Time, it's turned into Disney characters, where in fact it's fairy tale characters. And just because, like, I know we're Disney, so it's like, what am I talking about? But I just, because yeah, like it's meant to be from these old stories. And some of them will keep coming from Disney, but I think they'll come from the old fairy tales as well. So
Yeah, I'm licensed from MGM.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I love them.
So then what fairy tale characters do you guys want to see?
Aladdin? Aladdin and Jasmine. I want to go on a magic carpet ride.
So the genie, I thought the genie in Aladdin, in the Disney Aladdin, which obviously the late brilliant Robin Williams. I think that, I mean, obviously they're pretty big shoes to fill, but that would be, I'd love to see Adam and Eddie's take on the genie in art, Once Upon a Time, as opposed to Neverland. What was the spin-off show? I was in it.
Wonderland.
Wonderland, yeah. But yeah, the genie, that would be a fun character to see.
what about Thumbelina? That could be fun. I
I'd have to
don't know.
hire a really small actor.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't Alan Troy here?
Yeah.
Can we get him?
I keep thinking of characters and I'm like, oh shoot, they already did that. So
Yeah.
I'll have to get back to you.